What is up, and I welcome each and every one of you back to a brand new Civ 6 guide or Civilization 6 video. Hope you're all having fantastic days, and if not, hope I can make your day just a little bit better. Today we're going to be talking about the top 5 unused mechanics that nobody knows about, mechanics that have been lost to history and are only known by Sid Meier himself, as well as Barbarian Carl. I'm risking my life to give you guys these unknown mechanics, so do use them well, and if I don't post tomorrow, that means Sid Meier has captured me and I'm in his basement. So, yeah, if anyone's watching this, you know where I am. But with great power does come great responsibility, but honestly, with these great tips comes great results on deity difficulties. You don't have to worry about the responsibility part, but these mechanics are going to be sort of advanced, unknown. I didn't know about a couple of them before I did some research. A couple came from comments, the other came from me just scouring the internet. But yeah, if you guys don't have time to watch all of them, the last tip is extremely massive, so at the very least skip to that one. I do have chapters on here, so you'll know exactly when that tip starts, but that's about it for the intro. Let's get right into the video. We'll start off nice and gentle with the first tip. It is meeting civilizations with scouts is almost always the best option. You get a small positive boost, so if you don't know why you're getting negative boosts when meeting civilizations for the first time, it's because you didn't meet them with a scout. That positive boost lets you make delegations earlier, makes you get friendships a lot easier, as well as getting better trade deals and easier alliances. You can see in the thing, when you meet a civ with a scout, you'll get a nice small positive boost. They like you better for scouts, which honestly kind of makes sense, because if somebody came up to my borders with a big-ass club or something like that, I'd probably be a little scared as well and not like them as much. But you can also do Big Mac strats a lot easier. Get the civ to declare war with you with another civ, take out that civ, and then go after the first civ. That's pretty much what that strat is. But in all honesty, this is a really good tactic. Scouts are super cheap to use, even though I don't like them. So using them for exploration early on could be good. It is kind of difficult though, because if you're going to explore with your starting warrior, you will, I guess, meet other civs first, which could be a little bit of a problem, in all honesty. So you're going to have to sacrifice early exploration if you do want the positive boosts. But if you're going for Genghis Khan's high score, you probably won't need this as much to you, because you're probably not going to have any friends anyway. And that small positive boost isn't going to be very meaningful in the long run in any case. But yeah, if you're going for a more peaceful game and you don't want to be bothered with going to war, for example, building 1 or 2 scouts early on will let you explore the map a lot easier, because scouts, you really don't want to use them to fight anybody, so you're probably going to have them on auto explore, and you'll easily be able to find other civs with them and increase your relations, which honestly should allow you to get friendships with most people, especially if you are able to secure their agenda and maybe even their hidden agenda. But yeah, the positive boost does go a long way in the early game. It'll be much less likely to do those random denouncing because they just plain don't like you, and it is a lot easier for you to end up getting them to, for example, maybe join a war, to get them to give you some stuff. You know, maybe you could ask them and get like 100 gold instead of 80 gold, which could be enough to maybe buy a settler or something like that. So there are a lot of benefits to go if you are going for a more peaceful route, and finding civs with scouts will allow you to get all these bonuses a little bit easier. We started small with the first tip, but this next tip is going to be pretty big. The second tip is pretty interesting. You might need to know a little backstory, a little lore of Civilization 6. Culture and science, culture especially, they both work more like gold than they do anything else, if that makes sense. What I mean by that is that if you decide not to research a tech or a civic, you are going to have those yields overflow. Now what that means is if you hit next turn, you're not going to lose the science or culture, even if you did not research anything. It's sort of stored in a way, and that's kind of how great scientists work. If you ever go down the tech tree, get a great scientist, use him, and like 5 straight techs are worth like 1 turn to research, it's probably because that you have a lot of stockpile in science or culture, and it kind of works the same way here. Never research a civic at all. Now, culture overflows, like we explained, you can hit Shift Enter on the PC to, I think it's also on Mac, to skip your turn without, doing it. It's just forcibly ends your turn. And the good thing about this is that you can change your policies every turn. So, for example, you're building a wonder in 5 turns, but the earliest civic you can get is 10 turns. You could just keep hitting Shift Enter, and then after 5 turns, you could switch from the wonder build policy to another, and then after 10 turns, you could click on a random civic, and it will automatically research. So, again, you could just wait until you get Eureka for the civic. I think it's called Inspiration. You can wait to get an Inspiration so you save culture when buying that civic. Being able to choose policies every turn can be very, very massive for you. Could help you save on a lot of turns and prevent you from, maybe keeping in that wonder policy when you've already finished building your wonder. The other good thing is you could save it like gold and save an insane amount of culture. And then wait, right? You don't really need craftsmanship early on, and getting the government plaza before political philosophy isn't the best thing. So maybe you could work on just getting all the Eurekas while saving up your culture, and then immediately just bop, 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 get them all in one turn, and you'll be able to save a lot of culture that way, and you'll be farther ahead than you were from the start. You can also get away with less culture. You don't have to build monuments anymore. You don't have to build as many monuments because since you're going to be saving culture and waiting till you get inspirations, for example, you'll be able to make do with 40% less culture than usual on average. Although if you still build these monuments and stuff like that, amphitheaters, you can still save culture and just be further ahead than you usually would be. Save culture to beeline civics you need. Wait till you can boost them like we said. But there are a lot of things you can do by never researching a civic. You could, again, it's not that you're not researching them, it's just that the culture is going to store like gold, and when you have enough culture to buy a civic in quotation marks like gold, you'll be able to spend it and get that civic immediately. So that is a pretty interesting tactic and would be a lot better if you're trying to optimize your game, and would probably be really effective in deity, or even in something like multiplayer, for example, where you need every single advantage you can get. So pretty good, honestly, pretty solid tip, and honestly, it's probably one of the best tips on the list. But let's go ahead and move on to tip number 3. Third tip is pretty cool. It is you can build districts and they will increase the defense of your cities. Now, districts are, for the most part, one of the most integral parts of Civ 6. But there is one mechanic you don't know about. When you build a district, your city will automatically become stronger. So in the early game, if you build a couple districts, you'll be able to fend off an attack with less units. The more districts you build, the more defense you have. So instead of maybe building all the districts and not focusing on building another because you're like, I don't need another district for now, and I want to save up until I can get an industrial zone immediately, it might be better for you to build something, anything even, like a holy site, an encampment, just to get a little bit more defense on your city. And also the districts, if you have a warrior with the promotion that gives you combat strength on districts, keep that guy parked in that district. The AI will attack him at a serious disadvantage, and you could use that to hold out for a little while longer. If you're close to a warmonger, someone like Montezuma, Trajan, Alexander, Genghis Khan, who is looking to goatse your cheeks apart faster than, faster than humanly possible, you will be able to build these districts after a wall, and you'll be, for the most part, pretty well defended unless they come in with literally everything, which could still be a possibility. Doesn't matter which district you build, they all increase defense by the same amount. Although I would recommend building encampments for more defense. It could be really, really strong, especially if you have a ranged attack. Keep a ranged unit in the city, keep a ranged unit in the encampment, keep a couple of your melee units fortified around districts, get them that extra district promotion, and you have 4 ranged attacks, super strong melee units defending, and honestly at that point you are unkillable, can work on economy to your heart's content. But it is just one strategy. You can build whatever district you want, and in all likelihood, it would be more than enough to maybe even deter the AI. Deter, it's the word that means prevent them. You could deter the AI, if you could prevent the AI from declaring war on you in the first place. But I guess a little bit extra tips is that the strongest melee unit you have increases your city defense, and the strongest ranged unit you have also increases the city's ranged attack stat. So if you find yourself in the late game doing no damage from a city ranged attack, even though your city's at 100 combat strength, it's because the best ranged unit you've ever built is still a slinger, and that's the most amount of damage that your futuristic city will do. They'll only be able to sling rocks at the enemy, even though they have like machine guns and laser stations. So I guess a sort of 2-in-1 tip. Let's go ahead and get into the really, really nice tips. The next tip we are going to be talking about is any unit with a build charge can infinitely repair improvements. The Maui from Coupe, the Legions from Rome, the Vampires from Secret Societies, they all have build charges meant to use whatever unique ability they have. The Legion, for example, can build a fort. Vampires can build vampire castles. But what you don't know is that each of these units will have a visible build charge, and if you decide to repair an improvement, you will be able to do so. You can also use these units to harvest. For example, if you want to harvest chop down forest, harvest marshes, anything like that, you can do that, but they will lose build charges if you do that. But the thing about these guys by repairing is that repairs technically cost no build charges. So you can have a couple legions and vampires around so that when builders do get super expensive in the late game, you don't need to build them. You can just build legions or vampires or really anything that has a charge. If you do want to just repair some districts after like a flood or something, keeping some of those units around with 1 or 2 charges can help you repair your empire so much faster than buying a builder, wasting all that money, getting him to the front lines, and then using a couple build charges to repair, which is kind of a waste in my opinion. You could be using that production and money on different things. They're pretty much just stronger permanent builders at that point. Then you could just save your builders to actually build the tile improvements. You can quickly chop if you also need units, wonders, spaceship parts, or to manifest destiny. But in all honesty, just, I wouldn't recommend chopping for the most part unless you really have to. But keeping those guys around as a immediate repair force, as a construction force essentially, is probably the best thing. Think of it as a hurricane reserve in case you guys get bombarded by like a tornado or hurricane or like a volcanic eruption or something. Being able to quickly improve those tiles is a really good idea, and that's pretty much it. And now the last tip. I told you guys if you didn't want to watch the entire video, at least come to the last tip. And as always, if you do enjoy, leave a like and subscribe. It does help me out a ton. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the most important tip that you absolutely have no idea about. I had no idea about it until I checked the comments for one of the last videos I did where I was just trying to give tips. And somebody gave a really, really nice one. And that is AI's behavior is different in offensive versus defensive wars. In a defensive war, the AI will always at least white piece you after 10 turns. Now, why is this big? Why is this massive? Well, a lot of the problems that you have when going to a higher difficulty is the AI comes out of nowhere with 15 tanks, 4 choppers, 3 airplanes, and you're pretty much Poland looking at, the no Germans and the Soviets coming at your doorstep. And the problem with that is that if you do get overwhelmed, you're really not going to want to play. You're just going to want to give up, for example. But what you could do is you could leave a couple units, and when you see the enemy's AI army coming towards you, you declare war on them. I know, it sounds crazy. Why would I declare war on the AI? We're besties. We've always been besties. The AI will never try to come after me to get some sort of advantage against the human player. But that is, unfortunately, what almost always happens. But when the AI goes to war, it's either in an offensive or defensive mindset. In an offensive mindset, they will only make peace if you close the gap in military strength or threaten their cities. So if I wipe out their army, they might wipe peace, but they will only give me stuff if I go and threaten their cities, like when I try to siege their cities out, which is probably why a lot of the times you see, like, I've wiped out their entire military. Why do they want me to give them stuff to make peace? It's because you're not threatening their cities. Like, why? Like, if you're halfway across the map with your just 2 archers and warrior, they're not going to want to make peace with you since they could probably outbuild you militarily if they wanted to. But they will only give up if their cities are in danger. But on defensive, the AI, if you declare war on them, the AI goes, oh no, even if they have units on your borders. So what might happen is they might just run away to defend their cities. They might start attacking your units instead of bum rushing your capital city, kind of like the Soviets did in World War II. But like, I always find that like weird. Like if they declare war on you, they're always just going to go and try to take out your city, which is a good idea for the most part. But if you declare war on them, they're going to be much more focused on defending their cities and attacking you with their units, your units with their units. But when you declare war on yeah, that's okay. I already said that. But they will always wipe peace with you after 10 turns unless you're obviously getting crushed. If you declare war on someone and there's somehow like 2 eras ahead of you and they take like 3 of your cities, they're probably not going to wipe peace, although that is probably something I'm going to test in the future, but they'll always wipe peace. So if you're up against, an AI who's about to come and attack you, declare war on them, defend for 10 turns, make the peace at least a white peace. And if you're able to wipe out their military, destroy their military strength, they will be much more likely to give you resources because they'll be like, he declared war on me, wiped out my military, he is stronger than I am, he is the big daddy in this universe. So they'll want to maybe at least give you a little bit of gold, a couple luxuries as a sort of reparations, I guess. But it is a really good strategy now that I think about it. I have tested it and it does seem to work just as intended. So if you're struggling at a higher difficulty because the AI just comes in, whacks you with your head harder than Jose Bautista whacked that home run against the Texans in that one division ALDS that I remember watching, you can always just declare war on them. Even if you lose some units, you'll be able to at least wipe peace at the end, and therefore you're not really going to have to deal with the full brunt of the AI cheating on, maybe deity or immortal difficulty. But that's going to be the tip. Pretty much is going to be the video. Let me know if these tips helped you out down below in the comments. Any tips you also might have. But that is pretty much going to be it. If you do enjoy, as always, feel free to leave a like on the video. You could leave a dislike, but no one's going to see it, so good luck with that. But, yeah, all honesty, I'm out, so I'll see you all in the next video. Peace. Huge shout out to Cash Christian, Ben Omby, John Blair, Jackson Perez, Adam Mester, Imperium, Polska Bob, and Jeff Yutzler. And a huge shout out to Kim Cosmos, Mick James, JH, Polaris Gaming, Robert, and Overflow of Amenities.